I don't know if this is fair to say or not, but I would say that the environment you and I grew up in together, privacy and silence about a lot of issues was a big important part of things, especially interacting when family interacts with family. And um, so basically, we, our generation let a lot of upsetting stuff kind of go instead of sort of, I don't know what's the right thing, bringing it up, talking it out, addressing it,
Expressing it. Yeah.
expressing it.
Yeah, no, I
And
agree because there's a lot of conversations you just didn't talk about. You didn't talk about sex. You didn't talk about, the birds and bees, please. That was no, a girl having a period, and childbirth. What? Having sex? No. Those were definitely no topics growing up.
well, there were other ones too.
Right. Oh
It
yeah.
was
I'm just talking
really
about.
surprising how often things would go into um, sort of taboo or off limit areas. And, thinking about it now, do you think ultimately that was for the good? Ultimately, that was a measure of unhealthy or a mixed bag? Or, what do you think's the right sort of environment for family members? Should they be able to talk about anything? And, when are there times to be silent and have good limits?
I really think it's the individual family, but I do think that being open and expressful in your thoughts are an important piece in healthy family because it helps to form that healthy knowledge that you need to know growing up or knowledge that you need to know when going out. Now, teaching the differences of like, okay, teaching those manners is important, but being able to express questions and ask things in home with your family where you feel safe and secure, it should, I feel, is a very important piece. So,
Right.
there's a difference between being able to talk about stuff with your family and going out and, you know, screaming, you know, obscenities in front of everybody because, that's what you want to do. There's differences.
Well, can I share an example on something that I interacted with today and what sort of kind of made me think of it and made me ask it?
Sure.
Okay. So um there's a famous commentator who's sort of come to be well known in the last few years and lives a very public life talking about things and giving essays and giving statements and opinions on cultural values and things like that. And so it is a very very famous person. And what I was sort of struck with today is, recently it has come out that that famous person has had to sort of check into um, facilities for medical care for related to um, substance abuse, not illegal substances, but I think like prescription substances, and having difficulties with things like depression and suicide and other really intense conditions. And so today I was just listening, and a family member got on and made a video that they shared with the entire world saying, okay, here's the status of my famous relative. He's got this, he's got that, he's going through the other thing. And they were talking about extremely personal information, like like being in the hospital and what kind of procedures going through, and responses to different therapies, and going going from one caregiver to another, or from one facility to another to try different approaches and those kinds of things. And on one hand, it was really commendable to be sort of honest and open about it. But on the other hand, is it how smart is it to sort of talk about such things that could be so potentially devastating to someone who's a public figure, a public person? And I was really just surprised by that. And I pray for that person's success. I pray for them to get better, and I hope they do. And I hope that talking about it publicly is a blessing. But I fear that it might not. I mean, people who are against you or have problems with you for your politics or for your value systems and stuff, I think are going to have a field day with this sort of, we used to call it, you and I growing up, wasn't that the Kenny Loggins song, Dirty Laundry? Do you
Was
remember
it?
that one?
I think so. I had to think about it for a second, but yeah.
Yeah. So, when is that healthy and when is it a sort of unhealthy form of dirty laundry from your point of view?
Well, first off, did that person who is famous give permission for that family member to air the laundry?
Yeah.
Okay, then to them, it could be both therapeutic and um satisfying to them knowing that maybe they're helping others who are struggling with this personally and having such issues trying to put a handle on it and trying to deal with it. Um because all in all, a lot of people have these personal struggles and feel that they are wrong and bad and awful people for having depression, anxiety, ups and downs, and it makes it a big huge taboo that this is going on. And so if that person could find it therapeutic to be able to discuss it with public and let them know, look, this is what I'm going through and this is what's happened to me, and if I can help others so that they don't have to be feeling this, then that's great. Now if they aren't thinking straight in their actions whenever it's doing, or if it was like a tabloid got a hold of some information and exposed them and they didn't want others to know about it because they weren't ready there mentally yet, then I would be saying that would be a TMI situation, just back it away. Because, paparazzi and wanting to know every little personal thing about people forget that these people aren't on a set 24/7. They actually have lives. They actually have problems and they actually have everything that we deal with in everyday life. Um, it's just that they're portrayed as a different person on screen, and that's their job. And we don't need to know that they, pick their booger on, their left nostril today, news at 11. You know what I mean? We don't need to hear all of that unless they're willing to use it as something to expand on to make themselves a little bit healthier and or to maybe help others who have been suffering and fighting stuff like this. So I think that that's where I stand on that.
Right. That makes sense. Now, do you feel like if you were in that situation, would you feel comfortable being so similarly public, or would you find yourself probably wanting to be more circumspect?
Well, I think it would really depend upon where I was in my treatment. If it was a mental health treatment, along with physical health, or just either one or the other, and it was still very new and raw, and I hadn't had time to process it and deal with it, um, and it got all out there for everybody to hear when I wasn't quite ready, that would have probably upset me. As you know from previous, health things that I've ever had in my life, you guys would find out weeks later, and you'd be like, "What?"
Yeah,
Because I
you've
was
you've been surprisingly private with it. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean that's been, you've tended to be you tended to want to hold things close when discussing about that. And I don't necessarily want to pry or like ask why you're that way, because sometimes these are visceral, very personal things, and I don't think there was anything unhealthy about it. but, um, I know that, I had to face similar things too when I went through a health situation recently.
Right. A lot of, I mean, I can't explain it because I have dealt with it some, but I'm still very private about it. But a lot of it, some I should say some of it. I don't say it's all of it, but some of it has to do with dealing with my ex and using my health as a form of him getting attention.
Right,
Right. And so that in itself, it was like I didn't want to express I had any health things because I didn't want to use it as a reason for an attention getter. I wasn't trying to get attention. I was just ill and I needed to take care of it. And I always felt that if I expressed that I was ill, that, oh, I must be seeking attention. And
right.
that it took me a while to process that idea and that thought, but I have, and it's still very personal. I still don't share things with everybody right away. It'll be weeks on. I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I was in the hospital for 2 days. What? When? Oh, about a month ago. It's all good. You're like, what? um, but I still, it's still still personal to me, but I at least have a better concept of why I'm so closed mouth about it, um, in that sense that my, my emotional brain is like, "I'm not doing it for, attention. I'm really not. I'm really, really sick. Please just take care of me." So,
Right.
that's
Now at the
kind of where
same
I'm at.
point in time, did you feel betrayed or not betrayed, did you feel not supported?
Both, actually.
Really?
Betrayed and not supported, yes. Mainly because I was like, I'm the one here struggling with whatever illness that I was struggling with at the time. Um, and you're here going, "Oh, woe is me. I have to go home and take care of her because she's sick." And he just called every family member under the sun to say this.
Right.
And so and then turn around and go, "You're doing this for attention, right?" It's like, "No, I'm
Wah,
not."
wah.
Yeah, so I felt both feelings. I felt, betrayed and, I felt that I wasn't, getting any kind of support. So, yeah, it and that, now it's like when I'm truly, truly really sick, nobody will know. I will drive myself to the ER and, and then I get admitted and I'm like, hey, can somebody bring me some clothes?" "Where?" "ER. They admitted me." Because I'm so private about that. They're like, "How'd you
Right.
get there?" "I drove." "Should you have?" "Probably not." But yeah, so
Well, the other thing too that I know a lot of people fear is like the sort of interrogation, you know?
yeah,
So, like you make that call and they're like, "Oh, why?" And then you're like, "Well," and then as soon as it comes out, like you have to answer like 100 million intense, personal, uh, uncomfortable questions.
yeah,
Instead of just getting us, "Oh my," instead of somebody saying, "Oh, you poor thing, let me just drop everything and get out there, get the stuff you need and bring it so you don't have to worry." Instead, it turns into like one more thing on top of everything else.
right. And then you're worried about getting that other person upset because you're not doing well. Um, and you're the one that's, struggling, trying to feel better, and now you're worried about making the other person feel better because, you just stressed them out by telling them that you were feeling good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you always get those questions like, "Well, what happened? Well, how did that happen?"
Right.
Yeah, I purposely got ill just so that, I wanted to. You know, I needed to take a couple days off, so I thought a hospital stay would be a good idea. You
What
know?
is what is that? What's going on there that people turn into this we we would call them like neb noses or I don't know what's the right word, but it's just so frustrating.
I don't know. And it's enough to just go, "But, how about just saying, "Oh, man, do you need anything?" Or, "Well, I hope you feel better," or, "Well, what what kind of treatment they're gonna give you?" Instead of, the why question or "How come?" or "What did you do?" It's like, yeah, I just wanted a couple days off work, and I couldn't afford a vacation, so I decided to get admitted to the hospital for pneumonia. No big deal. I couldn't breathe, but no big deal. It's okay. Hospital food's great, so
Yeah, there's something going on there, and I think probably it's that situational aspect of relationships that drives the privacy in a lot of cases.
what do you mean?
Well, because now you're like, "Well, I wanna be private because as soon as these friends or these family members hear, then I'm gonna have to go through the unending questions, and I'm already tired, not feeling good, like, kind of on the edge already, and then you have to turn on all this charm and answer these unending questions, and it's like, that's the last thing you want on top of everything else."
Right. It's true. And it's like it is, and if you don't tell anybody, then you don't have to worry about trying to fend off the questions. The only bad part is that you feel a little lonely while it's going on.
Yeah, definitely. So, over and above that, did you still feel like it was the right way to do it with the privacy that you kept?
I don't know if it was the right way or wrong way. I understand the feeling of the people that, were shocked or let down or bummed out that they didn't know about it sooner. Bro. But sorry, bro. But also the fact that it still is a, personal thing to me that I don't always feel very comfortable expressing, that I'm I'm so sick that I need to do this, or I'm so sick that I need to do that. We actually, when we're personally talking to each other, have gotten very good at expressing all of our little ailments to each other and then trying to work out little things that we could do to make them better. Um, but like to express in a general sense, that's still very personal.